People believe that cutting spending is the best way to balance the budget. Specifically, what would you cut in Washington in spending?
I think we ought to go back to 1994. Remember the contract with America that unfortunately was not, as you know, Jim, fully incorporated. Newt Gingrich had the right idea. We were moving forward, and then when they were confronted by President Clinton in the Oval Office, and he said, if you pass this through, we're going to claim you Republicans are shutting down the government, so they all backed away. And we need more conservatives, more constitutionalists in the U.S. House of Representatives who, when confronted by a liberal president, in this case Obama, will not back down. The original platform of the contract with America basically followed the U.S. Constitution, which said that there basically is no federal role for the government when it concerns things other than defense. And Jim, I agree with you there. I'm a Reagan defense hawk. Now, this isn't a foreign policy debate here. Can't wait to that debate, because I am a Reagan defense hawk. So I believe that defense does not get cut. But what we do is reform Social Security, and we shut down the EPA, completely shut it down, bring it down to the state level, and end the Department of Labor. And that was in the contract with America. And that's going to be replaced. That's what I firmly believe. And that sounds crude. And at the same time we do this, we've got to keep the safety net there. You know, I'm a compassionate conservative. I do believe we need to keep the safety net, especially in the hard times we're following. But right now, end the EPA, Department of Labor, maybe even do something about the Department of Education.
What is your position on climate change?
Oh, wow. I love that question. Where do I begin? You know, I just read something today that was very disturbing. I've been doing my homework on cap and trade. In fact, 2 years ago, when I was out publicly speaking on different issues, and I made an ill-fated attempt for U.S. Congress 2 years ago, but during that race, one of the first things I said to audiences back then, this is when Obama was running for president, I said, global warming is the fraud of the century. And nobody else was saying that back then. Now you hear Glenn Beck talking about it all the time. Senator Jim Inhofe, somebody I've worked with down in Washington, D.C. in the 90s on many different issues. He's a real hero on this issue. Want to know my beliefs on that? Follow on YouTube Senator James Inhofe from Oklahoma. Phenomenal crusader against the lies of global warming. The bottom line is this whole global warming agenda has been perpetrated by folks at Goldman Sachs, General Electric, Al Gore. I forget the companies he's involved with, but he stands to make over $1 billion on this if it passes. Do you know that? So basically, in my opinion, it's a fraud that's being perpetrated on the American people. Cap and trade is basically a communist-style regulatory regime that, believe me, if this passes, it's going to be, as I referred to earlier, if you think Obamacare is bad, that's like a stomachache compared to what cap and trade is going to be. So in conclusion, we've got to stop this monstrosity. By the way, the game plan that they're perpetrating on this was put together in 1992 at the Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro. And one of the masterminds of this is not just Al Gore, but former communist leader Gorbachev. Did you know that? Give you an idea. And basically, these greens are like water. They're watermelons. They're green on the outside and red on the inside. If you know what I mean. If you know what I mean.
The military, a member of the military has to serve for 20 years to receive a pension. A member of Congress has to serve one term. Do you think that's appropriate? And if not, what do you think would be appropriate?
I agree with these three good men have said about this issue. And I would agree also to not take any pay hikes when I was down there. I don't know what all the perks are, but I think that a lot of them should be eliminated. But right now, what worries me, there must be things going on down there that none of us are aware of presently, because how on earth did Congressman Rangel get away with making hundreds of thousands or millions on the side? They said he had refrigerators full of money. How on earth did this happen? He should have been run out of the U.S. Congress. And it took Nancy Pelosi 2 weeks or more to finally decide to let him go. And the only reason she did Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi finally let Rangel go and said, look, you've got to drop off of your committee that you run, only because she was under pressure from conservative Democrats who said enough is enough. So obviously there's some really serious problems down there with perks and everything else. We need to start holding these people to higher ethical standards, starting right now with Congressman Rangel. He should be gone within the next month or two. It's insane.
Well, let's start with our closing statements then, and I think...
First off, I'd like to say that when you're engaged in politics like this and keeping an eye on what's happening in Washington, D.C. and around the world, you can get depressed and sometimes it seems hopeless. But tonight I see hope out there when I see all of the people that have come here to see a congressional debate, a local congressional debate, especially the youth out there. So I think that's a great sign that people are waking up. The other thing I feel hopeful about is the Tea Party movement. This is the first time since the Civil War that people in this country have woken from their slumber and have seen the effects of big government. And they're waking up, they're fearful, they're depressed, they're afraid of what's going to happen next, they're losing their jobs, their homes. Why I'm running for Congress is because for 20 years, and I want you to hear me out right here because we've heard about experience. I have experience for 20 years. Not only as a conservative activist, I started off in the pro-life movement, okay? I ended up getting arrested over 7 times for what I believe in. If you want somebody who will go to the full extent of what they believe, who will sacrifice for their country, for the cause, for the American way, I'm your candidate. I've been there. I've been in jail for what I believe. I've learned a lot from conservative leaders in Washington, D.C. I think I'm the only one on this stage that walked the halls of Congress for 10 years. I lobbied for a group that was against big government and corporate interests, the Better Government Bureau. I worked with patriots like former Congressman Bob Dornan and former Congressman Bob Barr and U.S. Senator Jim Inhofe, who's still there. I've learned from these great leaders in the House and Senate. I want a chance to be your representative, to serve you. And I know what service is, because I've given service already for over 20 years on talk radio, fighting against government regulations, fighting to save the unborn babies out there, which I'll continue to do. I'll be a crusader. I'm not just going to be a representative. I'll be your employee. See, when I get down there, the job of the congressman is to listen to what the people want. I want to work for you. I want to serve you. And I believe I can do it because of my experience in D.C. I'm an outsider in the sense that I'm a patriot who believes in the Constitution, and that's rare. But also, I know how to work the system down there. I know how to get things done. So if you're tired of big taxes, help is on the way. If you're tired of Obamacare, help is on the way. If you're tired of cap and trade and the lies from the elitists like Obama, help is on your way. I want to be that help, with God as my witness. You know, Jesus said, where your treasure is, your heart is. And that treasure can take the form of money or dedication or service. And for over 20 years, my treasure has been serving this district and serving the cause, the American cause. Thank you for listening tonight, and God bless you.